Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's show, the Beautifully Bruised and the CPS show. I am so excited for this show today for so many different reasons. We always have a great combination of personalities, of stories, of professionals that have come on to share their truth and hopefully to enlighten our guests and our listening audience to be more aware of some of the services that's very unique and special that are so beneficial to our children as well as our families in the whole altogether. So without further ado, I want to welcome one of our guests today who we've been waiting on. And I mean, in a sense where I've had people that have said, hey, I want to know more about counseling. I'm going through this and my child seems to be acting out in all kind of ways. And I want to help, but I don't know how to help. So this is such, Isaac is so helpful to me because I met him years ago and I just really appreciate it. First of all, I don't see too many men in this profession. There's a lot of ladies. It's been my experience. And
Yeah.
really, and by me having a son, sometimes it takes, another, male to connect on a level that I'm not able to. So, and he's definitely been that. And, just to me to see him be a man that cares about his profession, is very professional, and definitely makes a difference in your children's life as far as their behavior and things of that nature. So I'm always have to start out my show and say thank you to my Lord and Savior, because I know without him I wouldn't be here. I'm gonna be honest with you. Life takes you to and fro, so a lot of challenges that may come about, but he gives me the grace to keep going, to continue the strength. And I just like to give credit where credit is due. That's just the way I do my show here at Beautifully Bruised and the CPS show. I am your guest, host Latrika Jones. And again, welcome, welcome, welcome. You definitely want to tune in. We have a treat for you today. This is something that you want to get your notepad, you want to take notes, you want to listen, and you might want to even replay this back if you missed some of the segments. Is that important? Something I wish I would have known years ago when I was dealing with my ordeal. So without any further ado, Isaac, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Put me on the spot. You said get your notepad ready. I'm gonna try my best. So
No,
thank
no.
you so much for having me on. I really appreciate this.
Oh, absolutely. No problem at all. And the good thing about this platform, Isaac, is that you can replay it 24/7. So
Yeah.
if, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So if
Yeah.
something you forget, you can always,
There
play
you
it
go.
on. It's all
Yeah.
right. There you go. It's a win-win
Absolutely. Yeah.
situation. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I actually want to just dive right in today. Can you just tell us, a little bit about yourself and what made you want to be a counselor? What brought you into this profession?
Let's see. I became a licensed psychotherapist. I've been doing this since 2009
Wow,
when we started our practice. So I guess that's going on 14 years.
my God.
What made me want to do this? I think for me, I've always just loved connecting with people on an intimate level.
Right,
I've never really been one who's been big on speaking in big public forums
right.
with larger people. I've done that. I've done that in my profession,
Uh-huh.
but I've always enjoyed connecting with people, families on a one-on-one basis. I've always loved doing that because I feel like that's when you can kind of,
Right.
it's just really organic and you really um, meet that real true person. So I've always just had a love for that. When I was a kid, I played sports.
Mm-hmm.
So as a lot of typical kids, like your dream is to go play professional in football. And for me, I played football. I played all three sports, but football was like my favorite, was the sport I was best at.
Okay.
And then, but as I got through high school, I moved to Texas when I was a junior in high school, and I had some setbacks, I had some injuries,
Right.
and by that point, I realized that football was not going to be in my future. And so I knew when I was going to college, I always knew, I just, with that in mind, me wanting to be a therapist, because I just love connecting with people. So I just knew once I got to college, that was definitely what the route that I wanted to go into.
I love that, Isaac, because you're so right. When I noticed that too, like you just said, when you can chime in on a personal level, you
Yeah.
know, you know what I'm saying? You can get
Yeah.
something that you won't be able to experience in another way.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I love that. That makes a huge difference. So you say you've been in okay, because this is what I used to always wonder. So can
Right.
you better help our audience understand the difference between, you say you word it as not just a counselor or just a regular therapist.
Right.
What is the difference between those two?
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
those words are very interchangeable. Okay, I'm gonna try the
exactly.
best I can. Okay, so my license is called an LPC, which is a licensed professional counselor.
Okay.
Therapy is basically the service that you provide. So you might use those words interchangeably.
Mm,
Counselor, um, um, that's my therapist. That's kind of what I go as. I identify myself as a psychotherapist because that's kind of encompasses everything that we do.
wow.
But the license itself is called LPC, which is a licensed professional counselor.
Wow.
And in the field of mental health, there's different type of licenses that can provide counseling or therapy, if you will.
Right.
I have colleagues who are LCSW, which is like a licensed clinical social worker.
Mhm.
They can provide counseling and therapy. An LMFT, which is a licensed marriage and family therapist.
Mhm.
They're also able to provide therapy. It's just basically the schools that you go through. For
Oh,
some who go to get their master's degree in social work, they'll then based on the colleagues I know, I don't have I'm not as I don't have a my background is not in social work, so
mhm, mhm.
um, just kind of going from what I understand from my colleagues, then they basically they go the route of being a licensed clinical social worker, or there's some a licensed chemical dependency counselor, and those are the ones that I believe specifically work
Right.
with the who have a substance abuse addiction issues. They go there.
Oh,
So I
oh,
hope that I hope that kind of answers the question. So
and
they get interchangeably, but there's different fields, there's different education backgrounds, different licenses that also are able to provide counseling. Mine is an LPC, a licensed professional counselor. So that's my educational background. That's my license to being a therapist.
wow. I'm glad you explained that because I know sometimes, and I don't know if the audience can have had this experience, but I see some those initials, the LPC or the LCC and all this. I'm like,
Right.
what does
Yeah.
all these initials mean? So you
Yes.
you
Yes.
have to bring clarity. It's maybe because of a specific area that they're in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You're right. So that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense now. Um, with that being said, as well, I like to share that another reason why we're on this platform, which is Attorney Vince, that he is an attorney that represents families that's been victims to CPS for whatever reason. I've also shared, I'm not ashamed years ago that had been my story. And I know what it's like personally to go through that. So with that being said, Isaac, this is another reason why I think your profession is so helpful for families is because if a child that maybe have witnessed CPS or anything of that nature, so a lot of times they may be traumatized or just, um I just see counseling, therapy, however kids play therapy, it's just beneficial. It just
Right. Absolutely.
truly is. It helps you in so many different ways. And before I go into my question, we do have a guest today. I'm sorry, not a guest, but she's actually is going to be chiming in. Her name is Robin James, and she have a question for you, Isaac. She's basically saying, "Good afternoon, Isaac. What kind of technique could I use to help my foster child with his emotional issues? He's 12."
Okay, so
Great
in
question.
terms of tech, yeah, excellent question. I mean, in terms of technique, it could be the one thing whether a child is in therapy or not is that they feel safe.
Right.
So I think anything that you're doing is that you're trying to help bring them into a safe place. Now, if you're trying to get them in counseling, trying to get them in therapy, that's something that can also be spearheaded as well. The techniques that I say as using it as to help your foster child, I think is just to allow them to, in a sense, meet them where they're at, allow them to be that person, and allow them to feel safe.
Right.
And I think when a child feels safe and they feel they're in a stable environment, that's when you start to see the progress or the breakthrough, if you will. because no longer, from what I've seen, they don't, there's no longer a sense of defensiveness. So I hope that would answer it. Is that I think the thing that comes to mind with me is that they feel safe. One of the things that I always tell in all of my sessions, no matter what, I tell them when we do the intake session, I tell them this is a safe place.
Wow. You know what, Isaac? I've never thought about it like that. Because anybody, quite naturally, once you feel safe, you're normally more prone to open up.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And go ahead. I'm sorry, please.
No, I was saying, and that's really what we as a therapist, that's what I want them to do. I said, whatever your discipline is, whatever your background is, and as a therapist, is that when we want to connect with anybody, we want them to feel safe. Because when we feel safe, just like in any relationship that we have, when we feel safe, we feel comfortable,
Correct.
we're going to open up.
Correct. Oh my God. It's amazing the correlation between those. Just to, like you say, coming from whatever situation, like Robin, that was a great question she asked, whereas a child coming out of the foster care system, or a child that may be in a family, I don't know, divorce, life has so many different challenges and things that occur. Can I ask you with that question that Robin asked, with the services that you provide, and first of all, Isaac, can you please, I'm here in Texas. Can you also, I'm going to give you towards the end of our show today, if you have any contact information where, say some of our families that's watching saying, hey, I'm noticing that my child is seeming to be having something mentally going on, and I don't know, again, how to address it. So I would love for you to give out your contact information as well at the end. But I want to also ask you, with the services that you provide, does it normally help overall dealing with a child with their behavior, or is it more specifically towards a specific area of your expertise in the services that you provide?
Yes, absolutely. And I'll give out my contact information towards the end.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm part of a very awesome group practice called Bright Star Psychiatry. What we provide there is that we encompass a lot of things. It's myself as a psychotherapist, along with, we have a psychiatrist, we have a team of nurses, of psychiatric nurses, and what we do is that what we try to address is all of those things, because every child, adolescent, adults, every person who comes to, when you're coming for any type of help, it's different for everybody. So it might be because they're coming forward because they're having issues with depression, anxiety, anger management, ODD, which is called oppositional defiance disorder, ADHD. They might need they might need the aid of medication. What we do and what we believe so much is that, because everybody has a different feeling and has different thoughts as far as medication and things like that, especially from the parents that I've worked with over the years. When it comes to that, is saying that, well, we do provide that as an option, but we tend to use that as the last resort, along with therapy as well. So we might say, hey, well, if you wanted to, if you're a parent and you're deciding to put your child on medication, but we'll also say, well, let's go the counseling route as well. Or we might say, let's go counseling first and then see where we're at. So we work with, we try to cover not every area, but as many areas as we
do. Okay. You do. And that's what I always say, the teamwork makes the dream work.
Absolutely.
Because you have a collaboration of different professionals that they're excellent at what they're doing, and you're all coming together to try to, make implementing what and to make it be, like you say, unique to this individual, because everybody is different. Yes. And with that being said, Isaac, this is something that I used to always get questions about. People say, well, my child may have ADHD, autism, or, he just won't be still, or it's just, he has all this energy and he just, he's cutting himself, whatever the case may be. And as far as, medicine, I guess, how can I work this where it gets to the point? Would you say that if somebody is saying that I don't I just want to give my child medicine. I don't want to see if there is anything else. To me, I like the fact that that the option of counseling is provided, because like you
Absolutely.
said, once a child is safe, they might be able to release what what they're dealing with versus just
Absolutely.
sedating them with all this medicine. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, can you speak on that just somewhat about?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times, when we talk about the symptoms, if you will,
Mhm.
what we see is basically, let's say, child who's demonstrating that type of behavior at school, fidgetiness, problems paying attention, problems, staying on task, things like that.
Right.
Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes that is an underlining issue. Sometimes that could be an underlining issue of anxiety,
Correct.
underlining issue of anger, depression. Children,
Wow.
and especially if they're younger, I believe sometimes it's not always able to verbalize it. So sometimes it gets manifested in other ways, which you do see in that problematic behavior. So
Yeah.
when we go back to saying, let's give them a safe place to talk about these things, then that will, what we hope is potentially release whatever the underlying issues that are going on. So what happens as a result of that, I believe, the byproduct of that is that you see that those symptoms do decrease.
Wow.
That's why, and a lot of times that does happen. Like, I was upset because I have, you know, a lot of times we're internalizing these feelings.
Right.
I don't have anybody to talk to, so I'm staying inside. I see that a lot.
Wow.
I'm holding it inside, and now, it comes out. It comes out in anger. It comes out in fighting. It comes out in relationships and things like that. So when we do talk about it, going back to what we're saying, is when that person feels like they have a safe place to be their self, to be their authentic self,
Wow.
to be vulnerable.
Hmm.
That's the best thing about therapy. Is like, you can be vulnerable. You're
Right.
not going to be, and hopefully that person trusts you. Then they know, okay, well, I'm not being judged.
Right.
There's no
Ooh,
right or wrong answer.
yes,
You know,
exactly.
you know. Um,
Wow.
so that hopefully we find is that when you do address these issues, that those symptoms do decrease, and that's always our hope. We never can guarantee that. We don't have I don't have a time limit on it, but I do very much believe if you're invested in it, just like anything that you put a return in, you get a good return on your investment.
You get a return on your investment. And I think you touched, that's such a gem, and that you dropped in a nugget right there. It's because as a child, like you say, a lot of times they can't, I mean, as grown-ups, as adults, we can come in and say, hey, I feel depressed, I feel overwhelmed, I feel anxiety, or, whatever the case may be. But as a child sometimes, and I won't share my child's, personal information. Of course, we to protect the children, but I just know that for me, sometimes a child that may not be able to verbalize or speak as well as an adult to tell you what they're internally dealing with, like you said, from what I saw with my child, he would show it in disruptive behavior. He wouldn't focus maybe or as much, or just different things that he was doing. And as I began to start utilizing some of the Isaac's services, I can honestly say that I could see a huge difference. And I don't know if it's called coping mechanisms or how they, I'm not a
Yeah,
counselor like you are,
yeah,
obviously,
yeah,
but it
yeah,
just seemed like he started to start thinking more about his actions.
yeah,
And you know what I'm saying? Not saying nothing gets done overnight like you just shared, but I could see the difference of, instead of him just impulsively doing things that he was doing to just, for whatever reason he was dealing with something, it just
mhm,
seemed like it began to help him start thinking it out or
yeah,
processing it out.
yeah.
So, uh,
Absolutely.
but that's a great point. I'm glad you mentioned that, because again, I think a lot of parents just be like, "Oh, my kid is just bad. Like, this child is just bad. Like, what is, why does they keep doing this?" But maybe seriously, it is something that they are going through, depression or whatever.
Yeah. I learned this years ago, back when I used to, before I did private practice full time. I worked in the school system, and we would attend a lot of trainings.
Wow.
Um, and one of the times we had this really really the person who conducted training on these things. And the thing that always stuck out to me, and we said when working with people, and I find this to be very much true,
Mm-hmm.
there's power in words that we use, right?
Mm-hmm.
There,
Yes,
there's so much power in words we use. So sometimes, when we would hear, a lot of times when people go to therapy, it's their perception of what's wrong with you.
mm,
And that's distorted. It's not so much, and this is what I learned, what he told us, and this always stuck with me, is saying
that's
it's
good.
not about what's wrong with you, it's
Mhm.
about what's happened to you.
Oh, wow.
Story.
That is you dropped a nugget right there.
Yeah. So what we want to do is just say, okay, because there's nothing wrong with you.
Right.
This is not about you being fixed. It's
Right.
not about, when we think there's something wrong with you, we think, okay, something
Must be broken or something.
as a
Yeah.
therapist, we have to change you and we have to fix you, and that's not the case. Where it's more so of giving you that safe place to figure out what's going on, so we can start to develop solutions. So we can hopefully, what the key is that what I always tell all of my patients, no matter what, young, old, or whatever, is saying that the whole purpose is, the end game is helping you become the best version of yourself,
Oh, I love that.
and that's what we try to do.
I love that. And I think that's really great too, Isaac. And I just want to say this. I noticed that normally in our nationality, that in our families, like me, growing up, it was almost like you just mentioned, whatever you're going through, just deal with it.
Yeah,
Like if you go to counseling, it must mean there's something wrong with you in your head. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? It's like a
absolutely,
stigma. And
absolutely.
yeah, so it
Yeah,
doesn't mean
yeah.
that, yeah, wow, that's
The
good.
stigma has gotten much better, but I mean, I'm very transparent. As African Americans, as Black people,
Right.
that stigma has been really tough
Yeah.
over the years, to
Yes.
where it was almost, I believe, back a while back, a sense of shame, where you don't go to talk to somebody else, and a lot of times people suffered in silence.
Mm.
But I do believe that stigma has gotten much less, and
I
it's more
agree with that.
acceptable,
Yeah.
and which I absolutely love, because we now
Yes.
we can see that there's power and there's strength in focusing on our mental health, whether it's going to therapy or whether it's just self-care,
Right.
eating right, exercising, spending great time, spending time with close friends and family, just being around positivity, because
Right.
it's about helping your mental health, whatever that means.
That is so good. And I try to keep that in focus on our shows, like, self-care. I try to push those things because sometimes it just takes you just getting it out.
Yeah,
If it's just
yeah,
journaling, writing it down, whatever, just getting it out of your
absolutely.
head on to someone, like you said, you trust, your family, your friends. I know for me, it makes a world of difference, because when you're going around stressed out, and especially in the world we living in today, you're hearing about all these shootings and all these people, go ahead, Isaac,
Yeah,
whatever you want to
yeah.
say. But
No, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Well, what I'm just such as yourself, a huge believer in self care, because
mm,
a lot of us, we're so many things to so many people,
right.
and in this profession, when you're in such as what you do, when you're in the giving profession, what
Mhm,
are you doing? You're giving of yourself, you're giving of your time, you're giving of your energy,
right.
and at times that can make you feel depleted. So when we're talking about self care, what that does, that kind of refills you, so that way you can continue to give to others. So
Yeah.
that's why it's important that you give to yourself.
Oh my God. Listen, I'm serious. That is, you just dropped. If you don't say nothing else, I am hoping people will take that to heart and let your life reflect that. Because even immediately before I got on this show, I had something that occurred, and like you say, sometimes you could go through so much, and if you're not careful, it will overtake you. You,
Right.
you you feel like you're drowning in it. And I make it apparent. Even Robin James said, self-care, I love it. So do I, Robin, because to me, it's mandatory.
Yes.
I don't care if it's just going to the Dollar Tree and getting your favorite snack, a card to yourself,
Yeah.
pat your own self on the back, take a walk. I think it's essential. And I also would like to say too, by being a parent of a child with special needs, sometimes the weight can be a little bit could be more. It can be more. And so I think any parent, and I've actually spoken to other parents as well with children with special needs. That's some of I all say we pretty much have the same conversation. Sometimes you just need a break, you know,
Yes. Yes.
you
Yes.
do.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
need a break and
Yeah.
don't feel bad as a parent,
Well, that's exactly that's what I was about to say,
Please do. Go ahead,
and it's
Isaac,
okay.
please.
Yeah, that's like I love that you said that. Like sometimes you need a break, and a lot because we feel like, well, it's a burden that only we should shoulder. First of
Mm,
all, you absolutely do need a break.
yeah.
We all need breaks
There you go.
because that's kind of taps back into our self care and our wellness,
Right. That's so
because that way we can continue to be the best providers that we can be for our children.
correct. I think that is so essential because, like you said, I have known somebody that said she felt guilty, by bringing her child to someone to help them out because, like you said, they felt like, okay, this is my situation and only I can do it. But the truth be told, they were pretty much, what do you call it? Where you just what is it called, Isaac? Where you're just functioning, like you just going through the emotions, like you checked out. Really, you're in
Mhm.
autopilot, basically.
I don't know if this is what if this is what you're thinking of. When I think when I what I think of what you described is I think that of that as existing.
Mm,
Being
wow,
sometimes when we are in the just the muck of everything, just the grind of everything,
right.
we're existing and we're not living.
Oh my God.
All we want to do is we want to and yeah, we do have things that we have to do. We have
Right. Yes.
responsibilities, we got bills, we
Right.
got to take care, boom, 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 boom. But
Right.
with all of that, with the routine of everything, we
Wow.
want to make sure that we are living, not just existing.
That is so true, and it is a difference.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
it is. It is. Yeah.
it is a huge difference, and it's almost like you could start seeing it on your countenance that you might begin to start looking tired. I mean, it just begins to show that you're, like you say, you're just existing. You're going through like you say, we have to pay the bills, we have the brother hats, we have to take care of the responsibilities and go here and go there and do this. But you have somewhere along in that, have to
Mhm.
make time for you,
Absolutely. Absolutely. It-
no matter
yeah.
what.
It's priority. It is.
Oh my God, Isaac. That is,
Yeah.
you took the words you just said is so true. I had someone literally, I kid you not, before coming on the show, and I had no idea that she was going through something, and she just broke and started crying. But I know God was telling me just to let her know you love her, you care about her, which I do. But you never
Mhm.
know what a person is going through.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
never would have
Yeah.
known that that burden was on her heart because she is normally the person that's always the one that's taking care of everybody else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We see that so much. I see that so much in my profession,
Oh, I bet.
and I love talking about it because
Wow.
we're so common of it is that you know it kind of goes back to what you're saying as far as we feel guilty if we do something for ourselves,
We
but it's
do.
like, well, you know, and the people who give so much, they do it so naturally.
Mm,
But what happens is priority wise, they don't give to themselves.
wow.
And that's such an important thing is that no, when you are giving each other, and don't stop being, because I do believe that those who are givers, you're that for a reason,
Right.
you
That's your
know.
gift.
So
Yes.
you shouldn't stop. Exactly. That is your gift.
Right.
But in terms of making sure you are the best giver you are so that you're not burning yourself out, is to give to yourself.
Correct. That is so good. Um, what would you recommend, Isaac, with that? If you know somebody that you know that they're burnt out, they might even share with you that they're honestly just existing and not living. Is there anything that you would say to them as far as what could they do to start initiating more self-care for themselves?
Well, I think it starts off with just being honest with yourself.
Mm,
Sometimes that denial and things like that is kind of the first thing that you want to break through to.
right.
And after that, I really I don't believe it has to be difficult because it doesn't have to be big or small. It just has to be you having time for yourself,
Wow.
knowing what does that look like. You
Mm.
know, some people will say, well, I love what I do, and my job is my self-care. It's like, yeah, but or doing something with our children.
Wow.
We love being, as a father, I love being a father.
Right.
But I know that that's not that in that moment, that's not self-care. So I tell
Right.
there's different things that they can do. They can make a vision board, writing it down,
Right.
something that they haven't done in a long time.
Hmm.
Whether it's going to see their favorite show, or for a movie,
Right. Right.
or if they're able to take a trip, if they're able to spend time with their significant others, with no children, if that needs to be the case. But something that involves them not having to be on alert.
Right. Oh, that's so good.
You know,
That is
so so
good.
you just want to try to see what that is, but it starts with them being honest with themselves.
Being honest with yourselves.
Mhm.
Oh my God. That's where it starts.
Yeah,
Because we lie to ourselves like, oh, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. And then you look up, you're crying out of nowhere, like, what's wrong? I thought
yeah,
you said you was okay, you know.
yeah.
So, oh, that's good.
When as it affected all of us, one of the things that I'm it shedded such a strong light on mental health when school shut down and everything went from learning virtually as we're doing now. But
Yes.
I think one of the things that came out of that is one of those sayings that when it was saying it's okay to not be okay.
Oh,
And
that's
I believe that very much. We don't always have the answers. We don't always have to be okay.
right.
But
Good.
but it's so important for us in order to get to a good place. We have to first acknowledge
Exactly.
and be honest if we are not.
That's so good. Because you know what? I do believe when, like you say, the COVID, when the world seemed to have shut down, it's funny how out of pain the deliverance can come. You know, like it took sometimes the world having to shut down and to stop us out of our own busy lives to realize, like,
Yeah,
I'm not okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It did. It did. It did. And it was one of those things that affected everybody in this world, either
Everybody.
directly or indirectly. And that was something that we would. It wasn't one of those things that we could look at from afar and say, "Oh man, that's messed up."
Right.
Anyway, but that's what I'm doing. No, no. This
Right.
touched everybody.
Everybody. It was global. I mean,
Yeah,
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 like everybody was affected, and it made you, to me, be honest. It was such in your face where you
mhm,
had to, like you say, a lot of virtual. This is to me where, Zoom and all these other great platforms and the platform we on today, we didn't have no
mhm.
choice but to
Yeah,
utilize these type of
yeah,
services
absolutely.
today.
Yeah,
And yeah, and it just kind of made you families, that you're locked in with your loved ones and
mhm,
your children.
yeah. Some for it was good. Some, yeah,
And you can the listening
yeah.
guests, you can fill in the blank with the answer, but
There you go.
but but it
Yeah,
brought on a different reality, and it
it did.
really
Yeah,
it
it did.
truly did. Oh my God. So with that being said, I do, yes, it is something about that. It just kind of made you look in the mirror or observe what you're dealing with, and it make you want to, like, okay, I need to be real about where this is taking me. And I think a lot of people, like you said, Isaac, I want to piggyback on that. It seemed like that stigma is kind of easing up a little bit because people
Yeah,
realize, yes.
yeah. It is. It is. And rightfully so, because I always look at going to therapy.
Mhm.
It's never, I don't think it'll be on the same level as any of our other providers, but it's pretty much close to it. What I mean by, we go to, I was just having a conversation about this the other day.
Okay,
When there's something wrong with us, we go to a medical doctor, like we're having any type of physical pain, discomfort.
that's
Our,
good.
our teeth, we go to a dentist,
Right,
or we go through our daily checkups.
right,
When our car hits the 3,000 or 5,000 marker, what do? We take it to get an oil change, we get a tune
right,
up.
right.
therapy is along those same lines, because what does it have to do with? It has to do with maintenance. It
Wow.
has to do with preventative maintenance, if
It-
anything else. To say
Correct.
check in with somebody. So it doesn't mean that, so the stigma of, oh, you're going to therapy because you're crazy. You're going to therapy because there's something wrong with you.
Right.
No, it's starting to be part of our conversation of what I always hope that it continually goes towards. Saying, well, you know what? Yeah, I was talking to my therapist about that the other day, and they said blankety blank, blankety blank. And nobody's looking at you like, therapy? What you mean? Like, what? You see what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
not a hot topic, but it's part of our everyday. It's almost part of our everyday vocabulary. And that's,
I
for
love
me,
it.
that's what I hope that it will continually go towards, because
Yes.
mental health and checking in on your mental health to be normalized.
Oh, that's good. That's so good. I do. I totally agree. Oh my God, that is so good. Because matter of fact, we had a guest previously on the show, and that's what she said. It seemed like if you have, God forbid, some type of, disease, cancer, whatever, medical condition that you may have, where obviously you have to go to the doctors to get treatment, to get help with that medical condition. But like you said, if you say, I'm dealing with something mentally where I don't understand why I feel this way, the guest shared that people look down on her, like, oh, you must be
Yeah,
something wrong with you in your head,
yeah,
but she said as long as the other person was having a medical condition, that they was starting a GoFundMe. They actually supported the cause of them getting
yeah.
help. So why doesn't the same thing apply mentally?
I I think, just my opinion on this. I think we because I think one is tangible and the other one is not.
Hmm.
See, when
Wow.
somebody is hurting or broke their arm, you can see it,
Right. You can.
and sometimes it takes longer to absorb when, we can't see our feelings.
Right.
We can see the behavior. We can see how a person's responding or reacting to, said feelings or underlying issues. But we don't see trauma. You can't see trauma.
Oh my God, that's true.
So I do believe that that's the reason why, like, we can't, one is tangible and the other one, no, it's not.
That's so good. That is so good. And she shared that, she was just like, because if you listen to what people say, they'll make you be like, you don't need any counseling, but you don't know what she's feeling. She said she
Yeah,
was dealing with thoughts in her mind to harm maybe her children or herself. So to
yeah,
me, it's just as detrimental,
yeah,
of a medical condition,
absolutely. Yeah,
you know?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's good that that person, anytime somebody's going through something, and it's tough when when you say, well, you don't need any counseling. Sometimes we'll hear that from our family,
Yeah.
and we'll kind of go with that. Well, they said I don't, so I guess I don't. But nobody, even your family, everybody has a story. Everybody has a journey. Only you know,
Wow.
what you're going through,
Correct.
feeling.
That's
So
right.
it's
And
important that
trust
you
your
are.
your
Yeah,
your instincts and what you,
absolutely.
yeah, that's a part of
Yeah.
self-care. Take care of you.
Yes, absolutely. 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 So,
My mom always told me, no, nobody know how you feel like you do. You
yep.
know, I know it might sound simple or cliche, but it's true.
Yeah.
What you're dealing with might be something that I might not respond in that manner, or it might be something I couldn't handle. We're
Absolutely.
all uniquely different. So yes, I love that you shared that, Isaac. Like you say, you can't see what this person is going through. Trauma is nothing that, you know, um, you never know what they're going through on the inside. That those
Absolutely.
people that know those voices that she was hearing about harming her children,
Yeah.
you know? So
Absolutely.
I think it's
Absolutely.
very,
Mm,
yeah, just
mm.
be mindful. Don't try to discredit someone that wants to go to counseling. Actually, it's something that can make them better. You
Yes.
know,
Absolutely.
absolutely. It's self-care it's a part of self-care, if you ask me.
Mhm.
But I want to just ask you one more thing too, Isaac, and we're almost getting close to the end of this segment. You're answering so many, bringing up so much great information that's so helpful and useful for our families. I wanted to ask you too, as far as is there a such is kids therapy? Is that just basically for children, just for their behavior, or is that the name of it, kids therapy? Is that a true title? And
I
it's
don't think it's um I don't
Oh,
know.
play therapy. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, play therapy is, yes.
Okay.
I am not a play therapist. Play
Okay.
therapy is a form of therapy. It is absolutely is. There's licensed. There are great therapists, and that's what their specialty is.
Okay.
Um, and that's more so, I believe, for children who are really young and
Right.
maybe cannot verbally express, or for whatever reason they don't have the capacity to verbally express how whatever's happened to them, or to convey their feelings.
Right.
Once
Right.
again, going back to a safe place. But yeah, so play therapy. I'm more of a traditional therapy in a sense where, we might, um, where it might be like a younger patient, or just a younger client who, in what I used to do a lot of times, is we might play some ice breaking games just to kind of get them comfortable, whether we playing chess or we'll play Uno or something like that.
Right.
I always saw that more so with my young boys,
Uh-huh.
because a lot of times they did not want to be there. Their parents made them come.
Right.
So
Right.
once they realize, okay, Isaac, he's a pretty good dude. All right, all right. So, and a lot of times we'll play Uno, talk smack to each other,
Right.
and then
Like
kind
I
of
like to do. Yeah.
ease things out, and then and then we're good to go. But yes, play therapy, yes, that is a form of therapy.
That is a form of therapy. And like you said, um, a lot of kids that are not able to be verbal, like you said,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
express really what they're
yeah,
going through. So would it be a great indicator maybe for a child that might have been in a traumatized situation where since they
yeah.
can't verbally share what they're going through, can they
Yes.
express it? Okay.
So they may express it in other ways, such as through drawings. They might express it through art. They, like they said, they might express it through maybe role playing, maybe how they're playing with toys, or things such as that nature.
Wow.
So yes, I mean, so they're so it gives them other forms because a lot of, with children, that's their first form of communication
Yes,
is
it
through
is.
playing.
Never thought about that. True. Wow. True. That is so good. I never thought about that. Cause okay, that makes a lot of sense. Cause when you said that, it made me think back to teachers where I guess if they notice certain drawings, your child might have drawn in class, they might
Yeah.
say, "Hey, I'm noticing that he's drawing certain things," and I guess with them, it's just a form of communication since they can't.
Well, yeah, yeah, and that doesn't necessarily mean that's a correlation with play therapy. But what that
Oh,
also is, like with teachers, or anybody who may come across, if they do, that might be an indicator that something may be going on. Like if somebody's writing, if a child or student is writing, or like
wow.
graphic, or
Right,
concerning
right, right,
artwork of like somebody getting killed or something like
right.
that, that
Wow.
might be cause to say, hey, talk to the school counselor. Or if
Right.
it's something that might trigger, they might think, maybe this person is having thoughts of harming themselves. And a lot of times that might start with maybe, like I said, the artwork that they're doing, or writing poems, or something that's telling somebody that there's a concern here that we might want to look into.
Correct. That is such a great nugget you just dropped. And it's something that I hope parents would take heed to, that if you are noticing you have a small child that can't verbally, convey their inner feelings or thoughts at that age, of course, which is understandable. They're so little. But if you're noticing that, like you saying, maybe their drawings are more graphic or more what they call it, like gothic almost,
Mhm.
something, dark even, that is
Right.
something that yeah, you might want to start being more aware of looking into getting counseling because it could be something that child is emotionally going through or affected by, and they can't express it, of course, because they're so little. They can't
Mhm.
communicate it, but they're communicating it through their drawings. Or what about the way they dress, Isaac? Is that something that a metaphor, or is that something different? Or does it show in other areas when a child might be dealing with, even though they dealing with it and they don't convey it to their families, but do they show it in other areas that parents could be aware of?
Yes, one of the things that they can show, in regards to self harm, if it's, we're, in Texas, summer, it's very hot.
Oh, yes.
If you're seeing children wearing long sleeve clothes, things like that, because they might be cutting themselves. I'm not saying that they're not necessarily that they're trying to kill themselves, but they're
Right, right,
self harming.
right.
They're cutting themselves. and so they're wearing long sleeve shirts or long pants to cover those up. I've seen that quite often.
Wow.
So that sometimes is one as well. It's like, okay, it's 100 degrees out, but you're wearing a long
sleeve
dark
shirt.
long sleeve shirt. Sometimes they just are because the generation,
Right.
they like wearing hoodies and stuff. But that is also something there too, where they're trying to cover up their marks.
Okay, so that is, oh my God, because like I would say, as hot as it is in Texas right now, and I
Yeah.
mean it's hot. Okay,
Yes.
like, I'm like,
Yes,
where
it
am I
is.
going to go to the nearest lake? Because
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's really it's so hot. But
Yeah.
I love that. So you saying pay attention to the dress codes because it,
Yeah. Like, seasonal type of things. Like if
that's
somebody's
good.
always wearing heavy long sleeve clothes, no matter what, that sometimes might be an indicator.
Wow, that is some great information that you just shared. Yes. Wow. That and again, it just helps you to keep a set of eyes, even if they're not communicating with you, saying, I'm okay, I'm fine. But like you say, Isaac, the professional here today, have shared with us being in counseling since 2009 that definitely have seen a lot of different patients and have been able to pick up on the way they carry themselves, that it can be an indicator that something else could be wrong. So great, great, great nuggets you just dropped. We're actually getting ready to get close to the end of our segment today. And I have really been lost in this because I think it has brought so much information. But I do have just one or two more questions along with before I ask you, Isaac, if we have family members that's watching, we have grandparents, we have different parts of the family. Like I said, this platform is Attorney Vance. He is an attorney that thankfully, he 34 years of experience, and he's helping to reunify families back together, with their parents. And we try to bring on people that can support families during these times, to support their children, mentally. And that's why I think, in the world we're in now with so much access to digital information and games, and even if you want to say anything to that, I think, you know, um, it's important to know what your children are watching, because it seems like to me
Yes.
that can bring depression on even
Yes,
certain families.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. This, the children, our children, my children, I mean, this generation, it's
Depression.
very different than I
Yes,
think preceding generations, because
it is.
the access to electronics is so normalized, and
Yes,
and,
it is.
and and especially with social media.
Correct.
It's kind of like a double-edged sword. I
Hmm.
don't think that it's something that we should block our children from as they become of age, but
Right.
we always want to stay with them and educate them, and as parents, very, very, very much to the best of our ability, know what they are watching. You know,
Correct.
so that's a very important thing.
Yes, it is. It's so important. Justin Bernard said, I'm sorry, make sure I'm saying your name correctly, Justin. Just got our son back completely after 6 months of fear. Thank God. Praise God to you, Justin. I'm so glad your child is back in your care. I'm serious. That's why I take up my time and bring on people like Isaac to encourage, to inspire, to educate you, to let you know that services that are available. I don't know what your child been through in those 6 months, but if they are showing any of these signs that Isaac is skillfully sharing with us today, it might be something you want to tap into to share what they're feeling if you had not already. But praise God, and thank God to you, sir, you and your family. Your child is back home to safety, because it's nothing like safety, you know. As an adult, I don't care, even in relationships, don't nobody want nothing that's unsafe. So knowing your kids is back home with you, I thank God, I'm happy with you for that. I want to acknowledge that. Um,
Absolutely.
yes, absolutely. So yes, Isaac. So I'm sorry if you don't mind. Yes, the video games, and it came to me to share, Isaac, because I've actually seen some stories where these games are so detailed. My God,
Yeah.
like whoa,
Yeah, it's almost like watching live TV or movies. The graphics, and
listen,
it's because of the technology and things like that. So
wow,
we want to, I think as parents, we want to educate and watch and monitor what our children's electronic usage is.
Yes.
Making sure that we're incorporating playtime, making sure that there's structure.
That's
As
good.
children, especially when they're younger, they need structure.
They do.
They need routine.
Absolutely.
They may not, I don't believe that they always ask for it, but they benefited from so much. They need to know, I believe very much is very, I'll talk to parents about that all the time. Like what type of routine do you guys have in place?
Mhm.
Do they have a set time that they can play video games, or is it only on a set day, or can they play whenever they want?
Right.
So I think it's important that our children do have structure and that
Yes.
they have routine, because that gives them a sense of safety. Children want to feel safe.
They do want to feel safe. And Isaac, with you saying that, I had heard a story here in Texas where we're located at, is that a child wanted his game and didn't got so upset because he didn't get the access to his game. Do you know he killed his parents?
I think I heard that story. Yeah.
And I'm like, what is
Yeah.
happening?
Yeah.
That takes that type of, I don't know what's in that game to drive a child to go into that type of behavior, and that obviously something mental that had to be going on for him to take a video game, to be that obsessed behind a video game, and when he doesn't receive it,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
shows he killed his parent behind it.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Yeah. And I would imagine that there was more to it.
right.
And but it's sad to hear, no
Very
matter what.
sad to hear. So I think that is a,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just like you say, we in such a digital world. That's how much, like you say, you have to monitor, you have to set time limits, you have to, I even say filter. I know with my child, I have to set
Absolutely.
filters because
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. Because one thing about the children are they are they're very smart,
ooh, you took
and
the words out
they
my
they
mouth.
they know,
They
you
are
know
big
when
time.
I worked in the school district,
Wow.
a lot of the social networks, Facebook at the time was Facebook,
Uh-huh.
or was
Right.
blocked, and they would tell me, "Man, Miss Connie, I know how to unblock that." I'm like, "How did you do that?"
See? It's like,
So you gotta be on top of it, because yeah,
listen, they know more
they
than
know
we
how to.
do.
Yeah, yes, they do. They may
They
not
do.
know. We look at it from a standpoint of
Wow.
how what you're watching could be concerning, but they know how to access it. So
They
we want to
do.
make sure that you're monitoring it, and that you're checking in with them, and that we're talking as parents. I think if we don't do anything else, we got to always talk to our children
That is so
and
true.
listen to them.
Good.
Listen to them.
And listen to them. And you know what? That is so true. Even like I just know, I had someone that also shared that child might have been 7, a young child, and he literally knew how to go on Amazon to order games. And the mom had the app set up in her
Yeah.
phone, and she just for her own self and deliveries. And
Yep.
she's like, "Where all these games get here?" He ordered them on her phone through Amazon, the games he
Mhm.
liked to play. So
Yep.
at
Yep.
7.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, listen,
Because everything's so accessible, they know how to click. So as parents, you got to make sure, hey, don't put your credit card, don't leave your credit card on file, and make sure there's a password that they
yeah,
don't know. All these type of safeguards and things like that.
correct.
So you got to be on top of
Definitely
it.
those passcodes. I mean, those passcodes. Because if not,
Yeah.
you might be getting a delivery from Amazon and you don't know where it came
Yeah.
from. And you'll see it.
Exactly. Or you get that bill, you see, I got $500 worth of charges on here.
Exactly. So yes, that is so imperative
Right.
that you make sure you take those measures into place. And this, we're almost at the end. Oh my God, I know I keep saying it, but it's you're dropping so many nuggets and you bringing information, and also I'm processing everything. I just want to ask you, Isaac, if someone that may be dealing with a mental illness of some sort, whatever kind they may be, and they are not aware of it, which they know that they're dealing with something, but they don't know how to place it. Or are they just thinking, I don't have a mental illness. And I know there's no particular way that you can, I guess, you could just make a person take in self-care by going into counseling. But if you see somebody that you know that they are just an autopilot and they just seem and it's beginning to show in their, in their actions and their behavior, or they're easy to snap on you, or they seem their mood swing is all over the place. What
Right.
type of advice would you recommend to try to help that person to at least consider counseling of any kind?
Good question. I think that if that person you're talking to, my guess is that's a person
Who trusts you and you trust them.
Mhm.
And it's not at that moment, it's nothing, it has nothing to do with any type of diagnosis. Sometimes it's just like, you ever thought about talking to somebody about what you're going through?
Oh, that's good.
You know what I'm saying? Now
Hmm.
they have to do it when they're ready.
Right.
But sometimes,
And it might not, and a lot of times it's not on your time. But eventually I do believe that once they know that they're ready to talk to somebody, they will.
Wow.
So it's just sometimes just by breaching the subject of, hey, you ever thought about talking to somebody? I talked to this person, you
Right.
know, um, you know,
That's
I'll go
good.
with you if you want, hey, I'll give you the name of somebody who I've spoken with. Kind of going back on how mental health and therapy is much more accepted,
Right.
and it doesn't not that stigma is not as much. But yeah, just doesn't have anything to do with saying, oh well, maybe you have this diagnosis. No, it has nothing to do with it.
Right.
Sometimes just saying, hey, why don't you
you're going through what you're telling me,
and it gets received a lot when somebody else maybe has gone through something similar, or has been in therapy or is in therapy, and they see how it's helping them.
That's good.
go tomorrow,
But it's saying, listen, you should go. And at that point, I would tell that person, it's tricky because no matter what, it's still sensitive. So you don't want to. Hey, did
That's
you go to
true.
therapy? Did you go do it?
Right. Can't be too much.
Sometimes it,
Yeah.
sometimes you give them the information and trust that they're gonna do what they feel is best for them,
That's
or
some,
they'll do it when they're ready.
or when they're ready.
Yeah,
And it seems like you're also saying too, don't come at them as if it's a bad thing, or
absolutely.
putting them
Yeah,
down. It's more like, I care about you.
yeah,
This is something I know that's helpful.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Because there's power in our words.
it is.
You
It's
know,
such power.
instead of saying, "Well, you need to go talk to somebody," I feel it's received because it's not about how we intend it; it's how it's received.
It's how it's perceived.
So sometimes it's saying like, "Well," instead of saying that, I feel it's received better. It's like, "Hey, have you ever thought about talking to somebody?"
Hmm. Hmm. And showing you're sincere, like you said.
Yeah,
I'm not putting you
yeah,
down. I'm not. This is nothing of. It's just I
yeah.
care about what I'm seeing. How you're.
And it also, yeah, that too. And it's also saying, I'm not, as your friend, being your therapist.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right. I do. It's a difference.
I may not have the bandwidth to deal with what you have. As a friend, I can support you in everything.
Right.
But this might, you might, it might be beneficial to talk to somebody who does not know you, who can be objective, who does not have any type of emotional investment in you. You see what I'm saying? So giving them that information in that way, it does. If anything, it's a lot of times it gets the wheels turning, saying, you know what, I never thought about therapy, but you have a number. Like, who do you think? Because trust me, if they when they want to, especially as adults, and I see this a lot with teenagers as well, they'll seek it out.
That is so good. And it's funny how it takes maybe a stranger or someone that's not even connected to you for them to open up to. Maybe because they feel it's no judgment.
That to me is the biggest reason. Like
Wow.
I said before, because you see it's a safe place,
It's a safe place.
and you see that
Wow.
you know
That's good.
nobody no and with my teenagers, I love working with teenagers. Teenagers is my that's
I can tell you light up when you talk about it.
I love working with teenagers because they're funny and they teach me.
Okay.
The biggest thing with teenagers for me is it's kind of the safe place, but they want to just make sure that you're not going to tell their parents what they're talking about.
Really?
So I drive home. Listen, confidentiality. So when we're in an intake session, the parents might be right there, but I'll tell them, listen, what we discuss is confidential. After today's visit, it's just going to be me and you. They will not be here. They will not. I do mostly telehealth counseling,
Okay.
but I tell them they will not be a part of this. Or if they're in person, I say they will not be in here unless you want them in here. And 9 times out of 10, they don't. They're teenagers, so they
Oh,
want
of course not.
to,
Of course
yeah.
not.
So the biggest thing with them is that they just want to make sure that what you tell them. Now, I do tell them that there's 3 exceptions. If there's immediate threat to harm yourself, there's an immediate threat if you tell me that you're having thoughts of harming somebody else, or if you feel like you're being harmed. Those 3 things, I do say, well, I do, have to let parents know. But other than that, what we discussed, it stays between. Other than those 3 things, man, I don't care what you tell me. It stays here.
It stays there, and they're safe.
And they're safe. Goes back to being it's a safe place.
Wow, and it's healing and feeling safe. So
Absolutely.
I love that. Isaac, we are out of time. I'm telling you, I could sit here, and I know you got a busy schedule and so many other people to help, but listen, I must ask you, because I'm sure, people that's been listening, and I'm going to play this show back later on at some time. If our listening audience, you say you are virtual as well. You provide those services where, like the setup we have today, you don't have to be here in Texas. If customers and our viewers, our listening audience wanted to get in contact with you, can you please share your contact information?
Yes. One real quick thing.
Okay.
If they're outside of Texas, my license does not, I only treat, I do mostly do telehealth, but everybody I see is in the state of Texas. So I just want to put that out there. Yes, my license that everybody's in Texas, but my contact information, you can email me at ijconnielpc@gmail.com. Our website for our practice is brightstarpsychiatrytx.com. Brightstar, just like it's spelled, brightstarpsychiatrytx.com. That has all our information, our intake process, and the steps that it is, and we have a lot of good information on there.
Okay, that sounds great. And I'm gonna also ask if Grace, the producer, if she can add the website or the contact information you just provided for people here in Texas that is looking to receive some of these awesome, amazing services that's self-care for you and your children. And with that being said, the services that you provide, this is a service that can also, if a family is dealing with CPS or they want to get therapy for their children or teenagers, and if they're you could also help with that.
Yes, absolutely. In our profession, in my profession, I do have communications. I do my profession, what I do, it does intertwine with CPS. Whether it's they just got out of CPS and they wanted to do follow-up counseling, or part of them in the CPS is to have counseling or things like that. Or if there was a report made, they might call me to verify that they are in counseling. So yes.
Wow.
So not all the time. I don't talk to CPS all the time, but
still,
it does happen. It does happen. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
absolutely. So to me, that's even more because, so in other words, you almost already connected anyway.
To some degree, yeah. Because anytime something happens, and if they have to sign a release, the CPS caseworker will call me, and most of the time when they call me is to verify that they are in counseling.
Oh wow, that says a lot. That speaks volume.
Yeah.
Wow. So another benefit of your service. My God, I'm glad I asked that question. So Isaac, you have been a blessing to our community.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I thank you so much.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're helping families. So God knows you're needed. So keep doing what you're doing. Maybe one day in the future, I'd love to bring you back and we'll have another show at the time. So
anytime.
Yes,
thank you so much.
Yes, thank you again. And you have a great day. We'll be in touch with you soon in the future.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, everyone, that wraps up the end of the show today. Oh my God, we really had, I hope that this will help you in some kind of way with the services that he provided and the information that he shared. So again, knowledge is power, and iron sharpens iron. So just know the pain you feel today will be the strength you feel tomorrow. Stay encouraged, keep God first, and keep fighting for your children. I am your host, Latrika Jones, and I hope you have a great day today.